The moment I realized my family had erased me from my own sister's wedding, something inside me finally died. Not cracked, not bruised, died. And the craziest part was that none of them even seemed to think it was a big deal. According to my mother, I was being dramatic. According to my sister, it was just a guest list issue. But a few days later, when the wedding exploded into a public disaster and the groom disappeared in the middle of the reception, suddenly everyone remembered I existed. Suddenly my phone would not stop ringing. I still remember exactly where I was when I got the text. I had just gotten home from work, kicked my shoes off, and collapsed onto the couch with leftover Chinese food balanced on my knee. My apartment was quiet except for the hum of the air conditioner and some random sports highlights playing on TV in the background. Then my phone buzzed. I looked down expecting something normal, maybe a work email or a message from a friend. Instead, I saw my sister Madison's name. At first, I smiled because she barely ever texted unless she needed something. That should have been my first warning. The message itself was painfully short. Hey, just wanted to let you know the wedding guest list is finalized and we had to make some difficult decisions. Hope you understand. Love you. I stared at the screen for a solid minute trying to process what I was reading. Difficult decisions. I reread it again and again because my brain genuinely refused to accept it. I was not some old family friend they had lost contact with. I was not a distant relative living across the country. I was her older brother. The same brother who spent years cleaning up her disasters while everyone else made excuses for her behavior. At first, I honestly thought it had to be some kind of misunderstanding. Maybe she accidentally copied and pasted the wrong message. Maybe she meant to send that to someone else. But deep down, I already knew the truth because this was exactly the kind of thing my family would do. They would hurt me, dismiss my feelings, and then act shocked when I finally reacted like a human being instead of an emotional support machine. I picked up my phone and called my mother. She answered in that cheerful voice she always used whenever she was pretending everything was normal. Hey sweetheart, what is going on? I skipped the small talk completely. I just got a message from Madison saying I'm not invited to the wedding. There was a pause, a tiny one, but long enough. Long enough to tell me she already knew. Then came the sigh. That exhausting sigh she always used whenever she was preparing to blame me for reacting to something cruel. Carson, honey, please do not start this. It is just a wedding. Just a wedding. Those 3 words hit me harder than I expected. I sat there gripping my phone so tightly my fingers hurt. I asked her if she seriously thought this was normal. I asked her how someone could exclude their own brother from a wedding and expect him to smile about it. Instead of answering me directly, she started making excuses. The venue was expensive. They had to cut people. Weddings were stressful. Then she made the mistake that pushed me completely over the edge. She said they assumed I would understand because I had always been the reasonable one. Reasonable? That word haunted me my entire life. In my family, being reasonable meant accepting disrespect quietly. It meant swallowing disappointment without complaint. It meant watching Madison get away with everything while I cleaned up the aftermath. I reminded my mother that Madison had invited over 150 people. I had already seen photos online from bridal events with giant guest groups. This was not some tiny private ceremony. She had room for coworkers, college acquaintances, and random friends she barely knew. Just apparently not me. My mother immediately became defensive. She accused me of making the situation bigger than it needed to be. She told me Madison was under pressure and did not need additional stress. That part almost made me laugh because for years I had been the person carrying everyone else's stress while nobody cared about mine. When Madison lost her apartment after blowing her savings, I was the one who helped pay her rent. When she got dumped by her ex and spent 3 weeks crying nonstop, I was the one answering midnight phone calls. When she switched jobs 3 times in 1 year and constantly needed help moving, I was there every single time carrying boxes up flights of stairs while her friends conveniently disappeared. And now I was not important enough to attend her wedding. Something inside me went cold during that phone call. Not angry at first, just numb. I realized nothing I said would matter because my family had already decided my role years ago. I existed to support everyone else quietly. I was useful when they needed help and invisible when they did not. The second I stopped serving that role, suddenly I became difficult. I hung up on my mother without another word. Then I sat alone in my apartment staring at the wall while this strange calm settled over me. Normally, I would have argued harder, Normally, I would have begged for an explanation or tried to repair things. But this time felt different. This time I was tired, completely tired. Then a thought crossed my mind that changed everything. If I was not invited to the wedding, then I did not need to stay home pretending I was okay while everyone celebrated without me. I could disappear too. Within 20 minutes, I had my laptop open searching vacation packages. At first it felt impulsive and ridiculous, but the more I looked, the better I felt. Every click felt like reclaiming a piece of myself. I found a luxury resort in Turks and Caicos with private beaches, oceanfront suites, spa access, and unlimited drinks. The price made me hesitate for exactly 3 seconds before I booked it anyway. If my family could spend tens of thousands on a wedding while excluding me, then I could spend money on myself for once. The wedding weekend arrived faster than expected. While my family was running around preparing centerpieces and rehearsing speeches, I was sitting in first class, sipping champagne 30,000 feet above the ocean. For the first time in years, I felt free. I even posted a photo online with my legs stretched out in front of me and a drink in my hand. The caption simply said, "Guess I survived getting cut from the guest list." The reaction started immediately. Some cousins sent laughing emojis. A few friends messaged asking where I was headed. My Aunt Diane, who had always quietly understood how dysfunctional our family was, commented that I made the right choice. But the funniest response came from my mother. She sent 3 angry texts in less than 5 minutes asking where I was and accusing me of being petty for missing the wedding. Petty? I almost choked laughing in my airplane seat. Apparently excluding your son from a wedding was acceptable, but taking a vacation afterward crossed the line. I responded with a picture of the ocean visible through the plane window and turned my phone off completely. The second I arrived at the resort, every ounce of guilt disappeared. Warm ocean air hit my face the moment I stepped outside the airport. Palm trees swayed in the breeze while a driver loaded my luggage into a black SUV stocked with cold towels and bottled water. During the drive to the resort, I looked out at crystal blue water sparkling beside the road and realized I had not felt this peaceful in years. Meanwhile, back home, my family was probably explaining my absence with fake smiles and awkward excuses. The resort itself looked unreal. Massive white buildings overlooked the water, and the entire lobby was open air with giant tropical plants everywhere. Staff members greeted me with cocktails before I even checked in. My suite overlooked the ocean with floor-to-ceiling windows and a balcony bigger than my living room back home. I dropped my bags, walked outside, and just stood there listening to the waves crash below me. Then I did something childish. I posted another picture. This time it was the ocean view with the caption, "Sometimes getting excluded opens better doors." I knew my family would see it. Honestly, I wanted them to. The next day was perfect. I ordered room service for breakfast and spent the afternoon beside the infinity pool drinking margaritas under the sun. Every hour or so I checked my phone mostly for entertainment. Madison had viewed my story. My mother had viewed it too. Good. Let them watch me enjoy myself while they played happy family without me. Then everything changed that evening. My phone suddenly exploded with notifications. Calls, texts, voicemails. At first I ignored them because I assumed someone was angry about my posts. But the calls kept coming. My mother, my cousin Tyler, my Uncle Dean, even numbers I did not recognize. Finally curiosity won. I opened the messages and immediately realized something had gone horribly wrong. Call me immediately. Emergency. You are not going to believe this. Please answer. Madison needs you. I sat up slowly in my lounge chair staring at the screen while my pulse quickened. Then I found the message that made me burst out laughing beside the pool. The groom walked out. I actually laughed loud enough that nearby guests turned to stare at me. Apparently during the reception, Madison and her fiancé had gotten into a massive screaming match in front of everyone. According to my cousin Tyler, people heard accusations flying back and forth near the dance floor before the groom suddenly stormed out of the venue entirely. Then things somehow became even worse. My father and Uncle Dean got into a drunken argument over whose side of the family embarrassed themselves more. My grandmother started crying. The bartender stopped serving alcohol early because guests were fighting. Madison completely lost control and started throwing decorations while screaming at bridesmaids. I sat there by the pool with my cocktail in hand soaking in every beautiful detail. Then came the part that truly amazed me. My family wanted me to fix it. Suddenly everyone remembered I existed. Suddenly I mattered again because the emotional cleanup crew was missing. Madison herself texted me begging me to call her. My mother left frantic voicemails saying the family needed to come together during this difficult time. Difficult time? I could barely breathe from laughing. For years I had been the dependable one, the fixer, the peacemaker. Every family disaster somehow became my responsibility. But now, sitting beside the ocean thousands of miles away, I realized something life-changing. None of their chaos belonged to me anymore. I finally responded to Madison with one sentence. Sorry, I am currently busy enjoying my overreaction. Then I blocked her number. I blocked my mother too. The next morning I woke up to sunlight pouring through the curtains and waves crashing outside my balcony. For a few peaceful seconds, I forgot about the entire situation. Then I checked my phone and saw dozens more missed calls from random numbers because my family had started using other people's phones to reach me. One voicemail from my mother actually made me laugh out loud. She accused me of abandoning the family during a crisis. Imagine hearing that after being excluded from the wedding itself. Another voicemail from Madison was pure crying and self-pity. She kept repeating that she needed me because nobody understood her. That was the moment I realized she never actually valued me. She valued what I did for her. There is a difference. Later that afternoon, my cousin Savannah called. She had always been one of the few honest people in the family, so I answered. The second she heard my voice, she started laughing. She told me the wedding aftermath had somehow become even more insane overnight. Apparently, my grandmother openly blamed the entire disaster on Madison excluding me from the guest list. She literally announced during brunch that the wedding was cursed because the family betrayed one of its own. I nearly spit out my drink laughing. Savannah explained that my mother and Aunt Diane started arguing publicly because Aunt Diane pointed out that I had spent years supporting Madison while receiving nothing in return. According to Savannah, multiple relatives quietly agreed. The family basically split into sides overnight. Then came the best part. The groom apparently admitted he had been having doubts for months because Madison constantly expected everyone around her to prioritize her feelings while ignoring theirs. Their argument during the reception finally pushed him over the edge. Hearing that felt strangely validating because it confirmed something I had known my entire life. Madison was not just selfish with me, she was selfish with everyone. Savannah eventually asked if I planned to come home early. I looked out across the ocean from my cabana while warm wind drifted through the palm trees. Somewhere nearby, steel drums played softly beside the beach bar. For the first time in years, my shoulders felt relaxed, my chest felt light, and honestly, I did not want to go back, so I extended my vacation another week. When my family found out, they completely lost their minds. My mother sent furious messages accusing me of abandoning everyone during the worst moment of their lives. Madison called me selfish. That word almost impressed me considering she had literally excluded me from her wedding days earlier. But by then something fundamental inside me had changed. I no longer cared about earning their approval. That realization was terrifying at first because my entire identity had been built around keeping my family together. I spent years sacrificing my peace so everyone else could avoid consequences. But sitting alone beside the ocean every day gave me enough distance to finally see the truth clearly. They never appreciated me. They expected me, and expectations are dangerous because people stop seeing your effort as generosity. They start seeing it as obligation. The final straw came 3 days later when my mother left a voicemail demanding I attend a family meeting immediately after returning home. Her exact words were that we needed to discuss my behavior. Not Madison excluding me, not the wedding disaster, my behavior. I listened to that voicemail while floating in the ocean beneath a bright blue sky. And suddenly I started laughing so hard I could barely breathe. Even after everything, they still believed I was the problem because I stopped absorbing everyone else's damage. That was the moment I made my final decision. I stopped responding completely, not temporarily, permanently. I blocked every number connected to the drama. I booked another spa appointment. I spent my evenings eating seafood beside the water while watching sunsets turn the sky orange and purple. Slowly, the constant tension I carried for years started disappearing from my body. One night, sitting alone on the beach with a drink in my hand, I realized something painful but necessary. I had spent most of my life trying to earn love that should have been given freely. No matter how much I helped, sacrificed, or forgave, it was never enough because my family had already assigned me a role. Reliable people often get punished the most because everyone assumes they will tolerate anything. But eventually, even the reliable person breaks. When my trip finally ended almost 2 weeks later, I returned home feeling like a completely different person. My apartment was exactly how I left it. Quiet, peaceful, safe. There were letters from family members waiting under my door along with several angry voicemails I never answered. I deleted all of them. Over the following months, contact with my family became almost non-existent. A few relatives reached out individually to apologize, especially Aunt Diana and Savannah. But my mother and Madison never truly admitted what they did wrong. Even after the wedding disaster, they still acted like my reaction had somehow been worse than the original betrayal. That told me everything I needed to know. The strange thing is that losing my place in the family ended up giving me my life back. I started traveling more. I made new friends. I stopped rushing to rescue people every time they created chaos for themselves. Therapy helped too, a lot. For the first time, I learned how to exist without carrying everybody else emotionally. And Madison, last I heard, she was still blaming everyone except herself for the wedding collapse. Some people never change, but I did. They never appreciated me. They expected me. And expectations are dangerous because people stop seeing your effort as generosity. They start seeing it as obligation. The final straw came 3 days later, when my mother left a voicemail demanding I attend a family meeting immediately after returning home. Her exact words were that we needed to discuss my behavior. Not Madison excluding me, not the wedding disaster, my behavior. I listened to that voicemail while floating in the ocean beneath a bright blue sky, and suddenly I started laughing so hard I could barely breathe. Even after everything, they still believed I was the problem because I stopped absorbing everyone else's damage. That was the moment I made my final decision. I stopped responding completely, not temporarily, permanently. I blocked every number connected to the drama. I booked another spa appointment. I spent my evenings eating seafood beside the water while watching sunsets turn the sky orange and purple. Slowly, the constant tension I carried for years started disappearing from my body. One night, sitting alone on the beach with a drink in my hand, I realized something painful but necessary. I had spent most of my life trying to earn love that should have been given freely. No matter how much I helped, sacrificed, or forgave, it was never enough because my family had already assigned me a role. Reliable people often get punished the most because everyone assumes they will tolerate anything. But eventually, even the reliable person breaks. When my trip finally ended almost 2 weeks later, I returned home feeling like a completely different person. My apartment was exactly how I left it. Quiet, peaceful, safe. There were letters from family members waiting under my door along with several angry voicemails I never answered. I deleted all of them. Over the following months, contact with my family became almost non-existent. A few relatives reached out individually to apologize, especially Aunt Diana and Savannah. But my mother and Madison never truly admitted what they did wrong. Even after the wedding disaster, they still acted like my reaction had somehow been worse than the original betrayal. That told me everything I needed to know. The strange thing is that losing my place in the family ended up giving me my life back. I started traveling more. I made new friends. I stopped rushing to rescue people every time they created chaos for themselves. Therapy helped too, a lot. For the first time, I learned how to exist without carrying everybody else emotionally. And Madison, last I heard, she was still blaming everyone except herself for the wedding collapse. Some people never change, but I did. Sometimes people think revenge means screaming or destroying lives or humiliating someone publicly. But honestly, the greatest revenge I ever experienced was much quieter than that. I stopped being available. I stopped sacrificing myself for people who only noticed me when they needed something. And while my family sat drowning in the mess they created, I was floating in warm ocean water under a Caribbean sunset realizing peace feels a whole lot better than